discussion was that we want a real open-ended approach. Some people, it might just mean cleaning up their yards. Others, it might mean adding some plantings. Others, it might mean that a couple of neighbors get together and help somebody down the street who's elderly or has physical limitations that needs some help with something. And the whole concept being, don't dictate to people what you want them to do. Give them some ideas about what they might do.
Right. Well, that's
as far as mailboxes, I think the Postal Service will tell you very quickly if your mailbox isn't up to their standards, because they won't deliver your mail.
right. But I meant like on the grant stuff, and just for another idea what people might be able to do.
I think it's
That's all I was getting. That's all I was. Yeah, I was focusing on. Yeah.
We ask what further definition they'd like so we could have a set of goals to reach for the city council? You know, what specifics are they looking for?
Well, they just said we knew that we were early. I stated we were early in our planning process. We were getting buy-in on the concept, and we hadn't done anything relative to details. They just said as you get things further fleshed out, why, just let us know, and if there's anything we can help with. There was that wasn't come back to us with a set of guidelines.
So we know the date.
I don't want to create that impression.
Right, we know the date and the weekend, right?
Yes, we have the weekend set. I explained the weekend concept because of different work hours in our society versus years ago, and the fact that we wanted to leave it a little more open because some people might not have time on a Saturday. They might have to work, so their day might be Sunday. Who knows?
You know, if I remember correctly, it falls on Valentine weekend, and it might be a premise that the gift of the cleanup could be a Valentine's present to one's spouse.
It's an idea.
I guess, you know, what we need to do is come up with a press release.
Sure, and get the awareness out there.
Right, that's the specific.
Most people don't read the newspaper, to be honest. I don't know what kind of media we're going to have to use to get the word out. I think when we've looked at putting flyers in the utility bill in the past, that's not really been an option. Too costly.
Well, the regular newsletter was discontinued, so we don't have a vehicle to use, Dan.
Right.
We actually just included an article in that newsletter.
Right.
But you know, to me, I think we ought to. And maybe we can do this for our next meeting, come back with a list of all of the public information aspects. One thing is the community calendar that's established. We need to get ourselves listed on that. People follow that. The Press Journal has a free happenings column where you can send them information to an email address, and they will put it in that community calendar on what's going on. They do it ahead of time, and then they will repeat it the week that it's coming up. There are a number of both talk shows on radio and television that Marcia's Community Focus is available for something like that. Yeah. We can, I would think, come on early with the idea of maybe something towards the end, this fall sometime, to talk about the concept and mention it, and then maybe have some updates as we maybe once a month try to get on with the idea of just giving an update and repeating it to people. Now, the advantage to that is the Community Focus goes on 5 radio stations at different times. So it's an opportunity. And as Dan said, people who don't read the newspaper, they may end up listening to talk radio.
Right.
There are a couple websites
driving
as well that I think that there's that Inside Vero and Vero News website.
Exactly.
And the city's website, too.
Yeah, and 32963, we may be able to get them to write a story, and they now have a mainland issue also, so they may write a story in that about it. Probably not too far in advance. They like news,
newsworthy stuff.
Yeah, items. So it would. So I think if we all kind of put our minds to a creative kind of activity over the next 30 days for our next meeting, I'm sure we can come up with a pretty good list of things that, and I know what'll happen. We'll start our list and set it aside, and then 3 days later, another thought will come to mind, something you hadn't thought of. Maybe it's something you see or something you became aware of. So
What about like the garden club and those things added to their agendas?
Sure.
I don't know if they'll do that, but because of course they
Or
go
downtown.
beyond than just the city, but sure,
Yeah.
we may be able to do that. But those are things that we ought to put down on our lists, and then I would suggest we consider just discussing them next time, because that's only going to be the month of October. We've still got plenty of time, and if we can get an early article written by the newspapers and something on some of the free avenues to disseminate information, then kind of follow up as we
Right.
go along.
We could create a press release and then release it to everyone,
Yeah.
all the different
Yeah.
venues.
Exactly.
I would
And
say
have some follow-ups.
we've missed one key person, Penny Tranchilla with Portfolio Magazine, who brought the idea to us. I would imagine she would give you plenty of free coverage in her magazine.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier, Chris.
And I
You're
would
right.
also
'cause
suggest Vero.
she kind of challenged us, hope that we picked up the. I remember she included that.
And I'd suggest
you
Vero
were
Beach
fortunate enough to see it.
Yeah, Vero Beach Magazine as well, because the owner-editor has quite a heart for keeping Vero.
Of course.
Well,
There's
that's what
also
I mean.
Beauty
See,
and the
those are
Beach.
things that would be on your list for us to consider.
I would
next
be
time.
happy to write the press release.
Okay, well let's work on ideas first, because as we get, I think press releases are going to change. The first press release I would suggest would be an introduction of the idea to the public, and then future press releases would be maybe some comments that people have made.
And suggestions.
Or suggestions, exactly. So, hopefully we'll have more than one press release.
Yeah, the other thing I think that you could use as a very viable avenue for releasing this information would be the local HOAs, like Osceola, Original Town, McCanch Park. They are very loosely structured. They're not official HOAs like in a gated community, but they're community associations that you have one point of contact that can disseminate it to 100 people. And these are already places that have taken pride in their properties.
So you've already come up with a couple of unusual ideas that hopefully are going to be part of your list, because I'll
Great.
probably forget them by the next meeting.
All right. Also, have you ever considered signage at businesses like Walmart and Publix, that kind of thing?
No, I don't think that we have. Again, that all relates to a cost factor, and any costs that are associated with this, we'd have to have approved by city council, because it's,
Of course,
remember,
I
it's
wouldn't
city
anticipate the
funds.
cost would be too extreme. I mean, we're only talking about 4 or 5 major grocery locations,
Along that line, what about a banner across 14th Avenue like they use for the air show? I mean, we've got a selection of funds, and maybe a banner costs $200, and the amount of people that go up and down 14th Avenue is quite high.
It's a good
Again.
suggestion.
I'd also say Main Street Vero Beach
yeah.
and the Beachside Business Association.
I hope you remember all these, Chris, and write them down.
Yeah, I think it's a good
We'll
idea.
send an
Come
email
next
to
meeting
our
with a lot of different
clerk
suggestions.
superlative today.
What about reaching out to the Public Works and asking them first if they would be, if it'd be acceptable that they did a collection on, say, the Monday after the weekend?
Well, see,
for
that's
yard debris.
a cost factor, and that's something that we'd have to have approved, and we have to consider whether it's worthwhile doing it. If they end up saying yes, we're going to do it, and it gets approved from a cost point of view, and then there are 35 trash cans out that day in the city of Vero Beach, and that's all.
See, that's what I was thinking, just keep it on Wednesday. Was it just 2 days later anyway? I mean, that's what I
That
would
was
just
just-
do. Yeah.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it the way it
On
is.
Wednesday, yeah.
Jim, would you like to comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Public Works will work with you any way we can in order to address whatever program that you want to start. The cost factor is going to be, most of it's embedded cost anyway, so we'll be able to absorb, assuming that, we're not putting dumpsters in everybody's yard or something. But yeah, we can work with that. We can also make an exception to the volume that would be picked up, because right now we have a volume number where there's an extra charge. If we can define what it is that we want to pick up, to make sure we don't have contractors putting roofs and buildings out by the side of the road, then we can make that work.
I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things we open ourselves up to is a owner, resident, hiring a vendor, and vendor leaves his debris that he would normally haul away at the curb.
Right, and so we
Charges the client for removal of the debris.
and some way of managing that, which we can do. Typically speaking, most of our contractors, the ones who have licenses, we can work through.
Great.
Well, you've made my point that if we put our minds to it, I'm sure we can come up with some unique and different approaches to try and create awareness, and that's really what it's really all about. I guess you could have, here's one for you to consider, a contest for the homeowner who accomplished the most beautification. And they would have to maybe let the Press Journal know, and the PJ would go out and take some pictures. And there's all kinds of
Nothing
things.
wrong with competition.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
one problem.
Well, and recognition.
Recognition, too.
Yeah.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Wow.
It's very hard to quantify who does the best.
Wow.
We can certainly respond to that based on some of the colors that people use to paint their houses. That people drive by and it's like a shock when it's painted the first time. But again, I think there's a lot of possibilities and opportunity, and so let me challenge each of you with that thought, and maybe, Madam Clerk, we can send out a letter to our non-attending member today and make her aware of the fact that we are approaching the project in this manner, and ask her to put her thinking cap on too, so that we have a good contribution of ideas, and encourage everybody to hopefully, if at all possible, attend the next meeting just because of that, because it helps getting everybody's ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
And concerns, because sometimes an idea seems great, but it has a downside to it too. So we have to be careful of that also.
I think one of the other things we discussed was working with the city's landscape maintenance division and taking a project that's already planned and highlighting, as opposed to putting an extra burden on the staff. Finding something that they would already be doing that time of year and focusing in on it, so that there's buy-in from residents, buy-in from business, and buy-in from city.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Nanette's not here today, but I know that she was here when we mentioned that last time.
She was. And what about the 20th Avenue project? I thought she was talking about that because of all the trees. Did we say anything tied in with that?
No, that's a project that's completed at this point.
They're always doing something.
Yeah,
Even if it's just they mulch one of the cul-de-sac islands in the middle of the road. Here's what we did as part of it.
again, we need to focus on the fact that our efforts are concentrated within the city of Vero Beach. That doesn't mean that people outside can't do something, but when we think about ideas to reach the participants, it's city residents that we're going to concentrate on. And we have to make sure that's explained in the fact that it is a City of Vero Beach project.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that doesn't mean that somebody can't get motivated outside, but we want to make sure if we end up doing a special pickup that people realize it's a City of Vero Beach pickup and it's only within that franchise zone and not outside the city. Those are things we don't want to create any negative response to. Somebody goes ahead and cleans up your yard and puts it out, and we find out they're not in the city, they're actually in the county, so the stuff sits there. Well, it's not, it's a Wednesday, well, depending on where you live. It's either a Wednesday or Thursday pickup, I think, for yard trash. So, I think we've got a good start on an approach to create awareness, and that's really what it's all about. Jim, do we need city permission, council permission to put a banner across 14th or?
No, that's done administratively.
Okay.
The acquisition of the banner, you have to make a request to the
Right,
council for the
because of the
purchase of that.
expenditure.
That's right. But that's just a permit through my office.
And we've got, again, time to do that. It'd be great if we decide to do that, to get it out, say, a month ahead of time, so that there's creation of some awareness.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else on that subject? All right. Anything else under the heading of old business that we need to discuss? Okay, hearing none. Anything under new business today?
I don't know if this is the right category, but I'm going to ask anyway. On the 20th Avenue project, the bridges, the cement bridges that go over the street are painted white now, fluorescent white. They're really not painted. Whose jurisdiction is that to do that, and can you paint them differently? And my idea is there's a wall down the street here on Commerce that's painted with the hibiscus, and I think the Garden Club sponsored it. I don't know exactly who painted it, but that was my idea for those bridges along 20th, because the trees and the plantings are so nice now with the benches, and then you look at those walls. Because I live there, and I go, wow, we should do something with those, because they're just unsightly.
The bridges are the jurisdiction of the city. We mow around them, and sometimes we pressure wash about once a year or something on those. The wall that you see with the hibiscus was the Vero Beach Arts Club, who came in and did that, same one that did the mural in the community center. And they just picked that as a project and did the painting and that kind of stuff on. Painting a bridge could be a little bit more of a challenge, I guess, but the
But I mean, those little, just like the one side of the wall.
But the
What is
answer
that?
is
What happened?
the answer is the art club took that project on with the hibiscus.
Is there a difference in that the bridges are city property and the walls private property?
I don't know.
The
Wasn't
walls-
isn't that wall city property?
I think the wall is city property,
Yeah,
but
just wondering.
whichever the garden or the art club did get a permission. I think it's ours, but I'm not positive on that.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I'm wondering if it's open to do those other walls along, in city limits.
The bridges, and I'm not sure exactly which walls you're talking about, the bridges belong to the city, and they can be painted by whoever gets a permit from the city to paint them.
So they could be artistically rendered. They could, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Something.
All you need to do is find somebody to paint it.
Yeah, I think I do.
No. Well, make sure make sure that just because of this discussion,
No,
Jim
no,
said
no,
it couldn't
I
be
know
done,
no, I
that
know.
whoever does that gets permission.
No,
Yeah.
I know
you,
that.
You need to get a permit to do it, and the only thing we ask is, that's in good taste type of thing. Hibiscus is part of the city's logo, so.
Well, that's what I was thinking. And my thoughts were with the passing of Ralph Sexton, there's been so many instrumental people in the town, key prominent people, maybe something along those lines. Or my other idea is to get the schools involved. And I don't know how many bridges there are. I'm just talking about the wall on the one side of the bridge, not hanging down in the canal and painting that side. That's crazy. But maybe it could be geared towards school kids. I don't know.
Or the ones that go on 20th Street or 20th Avenue
Avenue.
belong to the city.
Yeah. And then some of them, once in a while, have graffiti on it. So I'm wondering if that would stop more so graffiti. I don't know.
We have yet to figure out how to stop graffiti. We try to go out and remove graffiti as
Right.
quickly as possible, and typically we're whitewashing over them type of thing.
Okay. Any other items under new business? Okay.
Sorry to disappoint, but there's no change from last month.
Okay. So that indicates that the money hasn't been removed for 20th Avenue?
Not yet, evidently, or at least this is where their books are balanced.
Okay, great, thank you. Chairman's matters, I don't believe I have anything this morning. Anything under members' matters? One thing under chairman's matters, I guess, is to ask, do we have any applicants to fill the vacant seat caused by Dan Christofoli's resignation?
I haven't seen any as of yet, but it is posted on our website under open positions.
It is posted?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay,
And
great,
it's on
good.
the bulletin board out there and word of mouth, if you guys can pass it around to, if there's anybody.
Well,
that's
it'd be great.
qualified.
It'd be great if we could encourage someone with a landscape company, who could contribute the kind of support that Dan was able to, so that it doesn't just fall on Chris. And Chris may be busy, and it would help to have a second person to be able to do that. So, if you know of a firm, Rock City, of course, had Tom Lau was involved for many years. Maybe I'll give him a call and just let him know that there is an opening, and maybe they have somebody that would be interested in involvement. So, but you folks are certainly encouraged to do the same if you would. Okay, so nothing under members' matters? If there isn't, then just be aware that our next meeting is October 16th. And we'll all be coming in with a list of ideas. If there's nothing else to come before our meeting this morning, except that Marilyn's absence was excused, just so that's read into the minutes. Chair
Carl,
would.
the tree application, tree dedication.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Excuse me.
missed that.
I saw them there, but then I forgot they weren't on the agenda. Okay, we have two
No,
applications.
it's just one. One was a
Oh.
copy for you, one's the
It-
original for you to
okay.
sign.
All right. We have an application from the Roush family for Fred Roush. And we do have it approved, so unless you have any questions or concerns, Chair would entertain a motion for approval.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. That is approved. I will. Thank you, Dan. Okay, a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We're adjourned. Thank you, and thank you for attending.